I know sometimes life can be tough, and you feel like you just had enough. When you're thinking everything is gone wrong, just remember that I'm here to cheer you on. Yeah, I wanna pick you up from the ground, let you know that I'm always around. 'Cause I know we can make it, yes we can make it if we try. Keep on trying.
You got it.
I believe in you.
You got it.
I know you got this.
You got it.
Just keep on trying.
You got it.
There's been a lot of bumps in the road. Oh yeah. Always carrying that oh so heavy load. When you feel like there's too much on your plate, just
Love me or hate me, God knows you made it when he let his eyes on
Welcome
me.
to NWA Connie Corso's podcast, where we talk all things dog.
Welcome back to NWA Connie Corso's podcast, where we talk all things dogs. Let's go, let's go. Days on raw feeding. What's up, Rick?
What's up, brother?
How you doing?
I can't complain, man. No complaints. What about yourself?
Man, I'm in it to win it as usual.
Yeah, I hear that.
Well, today, family, we got brother Rick here. Y'all might have seen him before. You see him in the comments, and that's one thing I am just got to pat myself on the back for, because we try to put real guys in front of you, the real community in front of you, not just anybody. I mean, it's a community thing.
Mhm.
But Rick, tell the world a little bit about yourself.
Rick Clark, man. I'm born and raised in Maryland. I see you had a couple guests that's been in Maryland. Yesterday, coach was from Baltimore. It's not my part of Maryland. I'm down in PG County.
Okay.
But I've been in the Air Force 19 years. I've been an avid animal lover my whole life. I've owned dogs for probably about the past 16 years. Yeah, man. I'm just happy to be here. Happy to be part of this movement.
Yes, sir. What kind of dogs are you running with now?
So I have an American Bulldog. That's my old man. He's a Scott type, so the more athletic build, active. And then I have two French Bulldogs who we just started breeding. I just had my first litter this past summer, and that was a crazy experience.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, man. Well, first off, thank you for your service.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that breeding is a journey, brother.
Oh man, oh man. And so like I want to. That's something I can retire next year, so I'm gonna do that and buy some land, build a house. But I wanna breed big dog. I love big dogs. And so with the Frenchies was like a trial run to see, you know what I'm saying, to understand. And I'm happy I did, and I'm also happy that I am not somebody who thinks I know everything. Like, I'm still a student. That's why I'm heavy into your videos and listening and asking questions, because there's some good information that gets passed along. Things you don't think about, right? Most people
Right.
are like, oh, I want to breed dogs. I want to put these two colors together. If you're looking at colors, then something wrong. It's all about
Yeah.
genetics and making the breed better, trying to get some of the bad stuff that people who just want to, I say, backyard breed,
Mhm.
get that out, and you want to make the breed better.
Yeah. Yeah. I actually had I have a lot of people reach out. Say, man, thank you for putting these videos together, because people hear the voices of experience.
Hmm.
It and it varies, you know what I mean? And
Right.
it actually throws people out of doing breeding,
Yep.
because when you hear about your time being
Yep.
took, you
Yep.
know what I'm saying, the care that, like all my family had to come to me for Thanksgiving. I said,
Yeah.
God, okay, I can't go. Can't go
Yeah.
nowhere. Okay, we'll
I
come
got
to yeah.
I got stuff to take care of. People don't know about that. Every 2 hours, making sure dogs eat.
Hmm.
Puppies, and man, we almost lost one of our puppies. Man, she was choking on some milk and legit had to do like mouth to mouth to
Yeah.
clear the windpipe. You know what I mean? And that was a scary thing. And I've seen people, what I'm saying, like clinging on to life, and that was more scary to me than some of the other stuff I've seen.
Yeah, yeah, aspiration. Yeah. Well, all right, brother. Well, we thank you for being here, and we're gonna get off into it.
Yeah, man.
So people can get a clear understanding. We know people gonna feed kibble while I ain't trying to convert you. Do your thing, but
Right.
for us,
Nor am I.
yeah, for us, the people that's into the raw and want to learn more about raw, that's what we're here for, bro. So,
Absolutely.
let's start off with some of the types of raw dog food diets for people who might not know the BARF diet. Can you explain this and go into this, brother?
So BARF is the biologically appropriate raw food for dogs, right? And so that's pretty much a breakdown of, it's 70% meat, and then it's a 10%. Sorry, I'm looking off at my notes right here. 10% bone, and then 10% organ meat. And that organ meat is a breakdown we'll talk about in the other ones too, but it's 5% liver, and then 5% other secreting organs, and then it's 7% vegetables, and then 2% nuts or seeds, and then 1% fruit.
Okay. Okay. All right. Um, and as far as portions and ratios, what is your idea of how you feed your dogs? Is it a measurement thing?
So
Uh,
yeah, for me, I measure it based off body weight, based off desired body weight, or because you have some dogs where I've spoke to people and they switch to raw and their dog's a little overweight. And so for example, I had a lab that was 100 pounds, but it looked like a barrel body, right? So the
yeah.
ideal weight was probably around 80 pounds. And so 2.5 is you're safe. It's 2.5% is a safe number. But if you have an active dog, you might want to go 3% of that body weight, that desired body weight, to maintain that current weight. So we're talking about like my American Bulldog, 100 pounds. He eats about 2.5 pounds of meat a day, and that's at that 2.5%.
Okay. Okay. Gotcha. That's a big question. Let me. What do you prefer more in your diet, the red meat or white meat?
And so that's actually a good question, because when it comes to dogs, white meat is an animal that not only is it poultry, but if you have a rabbit that is raised in a cage, that's considered white meat. If you have free range rabbits, that's considered red meat,
Mm,
because of what they're eating and how active they are.
got
So you have to have a blend of that red meat, just like red meat is good for us, which is debatable, but you get certain vitamins from that red meat, and in a form of amino acids and uh creatine, stuff like that dogs will still need for better muscle development.
mhm,
And
got
so for me, pork is considered a red meat in the eyes of feeding dogs raw diet. So that's one source that I rely on heavily, not only because it's easily available, but it's not that expensive. But I also do beef and wild hogs. I'm down here in Texas, so I know some hunters, deer, animals like that are out there running around. But I incorporate all of that into my diet.
Have you ate wild hog before?
I have not. I have not.
They tell me it tastes better than store bought.
I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it. Like, and when I was stationed in Georgia, and that's where my introduction to wild hogs came. That was a funny story. Being out in the woods training, and you run up on some hogs. That's a life changing. But one of the guys I was out there with, he was a hunter, and he was pissed that he couldn't shoot any because he was like, it's some good eating, and he was saying like because of what they eat. You know what I'm saying? Like hogs, they eat a little of everything, but they're eating a lot of fruits and stuff that's out there, and so the meat he was saying was a higher quality. It wasn't as fatty, a lot more lean than you would think.
Okay. And there's some hogs in Texas, boy.
Oh yeah, they everywhere.
You
They,
see them on the side of the road.
as a matter of fact, the neighborhood I live in, so where I live now is becoming more and more developed. And my
Mhm.
wife and I were driving, and this huge hog was standing on the side of the road. I'm talking about, we were in her car, and I saw it like eye to eye in the passenger window. And I was like, turn around. I was like, I need to go get a gun. I don't know how to skin no animal, but I'm about to learn right now.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. So yeah, a lot of people don't talk about using the pork. You usually hear red meat
Mhm.
or chicken.
Yep.
But it seems like you prefer the pork or the red meat more than the white meat. Or
So I do. I don't want to say an even balance because it's not an even balance for how I do it. But I'll do maybe a little more white meat on this particular meal, then a little heavier on the red meat for that meal, if not equal. But I do incorporate red meat a lot.
gotcha. We got one called the PMR, the
Yep,
Prey Model Raw.
prey model
Explain.
raw,
Yes.
and that's what I personally do. So that's pretty much where your dog will consume a whole animal. So you think about when you see like wolves or like lions, they'll take down an animal and they'll eat it from the rooter to the tutor. And sometimes you might see them eating the stomach contents depending on what it is, and that's arguable on what they're trying to get out of that. But it's pretty much you're recreating a whole animal. And with that, like again, I lean back to people who hunt. If they killing anything, I tell them I want everything that you don't want. When you clean it, when you're gutting it, I want that except for the stomach and the intestines. So you got your lungs, your heart, which heart is not considered an organ when dealing with raw feeding for dogs. It's a muscle. It's a muscle meat.
Mhm.
But I want the heart, I want the lungs, I want the pancreas, I want the liver, the spleen, the esophagus, the throat. Also the head is super important. I feed chicken heads, duck heads, rabbit heads, because those are all parts of the animal that people are discarding whenever they're going to clean, especially you're in an environment where people they grow their own food, and those stuff that they're throwing away, they'll take off. They'll be happy to let you take it off their hands.
Yep. You got to. Yeah, I was gonna say something about that. It's
Mhm.
always good to have one of them buddies that hunt
Yep.
or find them hunting groups and hey,
Yep.
hey, can I get that? Then
Yep.
they'll hook you up. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yep. So why is the head so important to you to make sure they get that?
Because not only is it a soft bone that they can consume, because that's important that they consume bone for the calcium,
Mhm.
but it has eyeballs, the brains, the tongue. That's good organs that'll be discarded.
Mhm.
And often it's when doing this diet, it's hard to find organ meat
Mhm.
because it's not commonly ate. People, you only hear people eating liver. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, I want the lungs, I want the pancreas, I want in beef, you got the sweetbreads, the thymus gland. I want all of that.
So this prey model raw,
Mhm.
uh, is this gonna be a live animal we starting with, or is it because I see people feed rabbit, or just gonna be, just an
No,
example of the diet that they will eat?
it's just an example. So you want to recreate the dog consuming or cat, because a lot of people feed their cats a raw diet as well. You
Mhm.
want to recreate this animal over the course of a week
Gotcha.
at a minimal. So my American Bulldog, I have given him whole rabbits that were already dispatched,
Mhm.
and fur and all, and he'll just sit there and go to work.
Mhm.
I have given him, as a matter of fact, he had a whole chicken the day before yesterday,
Mhm.
and that bird was probably about 4 pounds, which was heavier than what he's used to eating. So he ate all but a little bit, and then I just finished it off the next day. I only feed him once a day.
Mhm. Gotcha. So as far as the prey model raw, the portion size, is it different, or are we just letting them get what he want until he full? How does it work with you?
So for me, it's all weighed out,
Okay.
and like I said, the bird that he ate was probably about 5.5 pounds. So that was going to be 2 days worth of food. If he would have consumed it all right then and there, he wouldn't have ate the next day.
Oh,
And
gotcha.
that's just to keep him balanced. He would have eaten the next day if I allowed him, but that's the way I do it. I've also seen people who let their dogs work on a large portion and call it quits. When I first started, I gave him a pork shoulder with the bone. And so I took the skin off of it and I let him go to work. And it was probably about a 6 pound pork shoulder.
Mhm.
And he ate his fill and then he was done. What I've learned over time though, I feed my dog outside, my big dog outside. And when we were in Georgia, he would take it and go, run off somewhere and eat. And I wouldn't really check behind him and like, okay, did you eat it all? Because the assumption is he did eat it all. But one time when I was out there cutting the grass, I noticed that he was burying his food. So if
Oh.
he would get his fill, and then bury the rest. And it
Mm.
was crazy because it wasn't like I was looking, oh, it's a dig spot. He came out there with me, and then he came back with this it was a deer, like a deer, like the upper thigh of a deer. And he just came back with this thing in his mouth, just trotting, like, "Hey, look what I got! I'm gonna go sit over here and chew on this now." And I was like,
Yeah.
where the hell did this come from?" But
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
now I make sure that I go behind him and make sure he ate it all and check on him periodically. Because often, man, all my dogs are really good. They were raised with my children. My American Bulldog raised my two oldest kids, and a big fear. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but people talk about like aggression with feeding them raw meat. I try to leave him alone because I don't want him to develop the need to resource guard. I have taken food from him while he was eating it so that he knows that I'm giving you this. But I say that to say I try not to hover over him while he's eating. But some people do that. To me, I wouldn't want nobody standing over me while I was eating. So I
Right. Right.
extend that courtesy.
Right. So what you hear is with the raw diet, the dogs get a little bit more amped up.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from my experience, I don't believe I've seen dogs that are new to it. One of my Frenchies, her first time eating it, it was so funny because she was so small, and she devoured it. And then I gave her some, and I went to move it to establish that dominance, and she growled. And I didn't get upset about it because this is a high value reward for you. I pinned her on her back so that she knew that, hey, I'm in charge. I'm giving you this, and we never had the problem again.
Gotcha. Let me actually. I had to turn that light on, brother, because I'm a dark skinned brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was starting to disappear up in
That's
the.
what I stole my daughter's ring light, and I was
Yeah,
like, I need to
yeah,
borrow
yeah. They were looking at orange teeth, orange shirt and teeth.
this.
I had to turn that light up, bro. But
Mhm,
hey, so another thing you hear is worms in raw feeding.
mhm.
That true to you or not? Have you ever experienced that?
So, from my experience, I have yet to see any parasites at all, and it also goes into where you get it, what you're feeding. When I deal with game animals, I freeze it for 3 weeks. 3 weeks before I even think about portioning it out and to feed my dogs. It gets frozen for 3 weeks. So that way, any type of internal parasites they may have had, they're gone. They're dead.
Mm, Yeah.
I see often people who feed fish. You look at bears, for example, right? I don't know if you've ever seen it, but grizzly bears, you see worms coming out their ass because they're eating salmon, and the salmon have parasites in them. So you'll literally, if you go look on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, you'll see some worms, some tapeworms coming out the back of bears because of them eating so much salmon at that amount of time.
Mm.
And so I freeze it to make sure that I don't have that problem.
Right.
People often, they get nervous when you talk about pork. We're feeding USDA grade pork.
Hmm.
I haven't seen any parasites in there. I'm not going to pick it up from some farmer and then just, from farm to table, truly,
Right.
I'm going to eat, and I have gotten meat from people who homestead and farm. I freeze it. The chickens that my dog just ate the other day was from a buddy of mine who has a homestead, and there was some laying hens that weren't laying anymore, so he had to get rid of them. I
Right.
froze them for 3 weeks because they
Yeah.
were free range. So
Yeah.
it's
It
like I
is.
feel like
It is some I'm sorry to cut you off. It
no,
is
you
some
good.
misconceptions about pork, like because you could talk to people that's been to culinary school and
Mhm.
finding out the temp of when pork is done is
Right,
not
right.
it ain't 165. You know what I
No,
mean?
it's not. It's 140,
Yeah,
145 or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
145, yeah,
Yep.
somewhere in there, and the meat is juicy and it's
Not
done.
dry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a lot of people think, man, you gotta cook that. Make sure it's or they'll do this shit if you do you ever hear this one? If you set some pork out in the sun for a day, worms start coming out of
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. Who going like yeah, and probably some fly got in there and put some maggots in there or
it.
something like
Yeah,
that. But
right.
I've
Yeah,
heard those same type of tales, and this is like I don't know where y'all getting y'all meat from, but I haven't seen that in
right.
my whole life.
Yeah, yeah. What are your thoughts on fish in the diet?
So that's another good point, right? So when it comes to feeding fish to dogs, you need cold water fish.
Oh,
Mackerel, halibut, those things. When you start dealing with warm water fish is when you start to have issues when it comes to parasites and stuff like that. Again, they need to, and also they're more of a hardy fish. They're more muscular. The meat isn't. You look at like tuna or something like that. That's a cold water halibut, salmon again.
mhm,
And I actually just started incorporating halibut. I'm sorry, not halibut, mackerel, whole mackerel
mhm.
into my dog's diet. I
Right,
have a meat grinder, and I just grind it all up and the whole fish.
right,
So
right,
far, so good. But it's a way to get those omega 3 instead of getting I'm gonna just feed the fish because I was
right.
doing fish oil for a while.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense. You said salmon oil and things like that. Those of us who have supplemented
Mhm.
down the years, you don't ever hear nothing about no catfish
Right.
oil.
Yeah, none of that. Right, right, right,
Yeah.
right. Absolutely right.
Uh, organ meating, secreting and non-secreting. What do we get? What are the benefits of each?
So from your organs, you get a lot of good vitamins. A, E, vitamin D, believe it or not. But you want to make sure you have that balance of secreting and non-secreting. And so when I say secreting, I'm talking about your liver, your kidney, your brains, anything that has a juice in it when you squeeze. And I go back to the heart. We look at the heart as an organ, but it's actually a muscle.
Muscle. Yeah.
And so that it vitamin is good. I'm sorry, vitamin A is very rich in vitamin A, the heart, but you don't want to give too much of it.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
you want to make sure, like I said, those eyeballs, even testicles. Testicles is another big one, a high item, a high organ that's fed.
The muscle in the meat. What do we get? What are we gaining from the muscle?
That's your protein.
The protein.
That's your protein source right there.
Hmm. The bone.
That your calcium and people forget like inside our bones. So the bones are they're not as brittle as you think they are. And then to dive off a little bit, cooked bones is what you don't want to give because you're taking away all of the bone marrow. That's super important
The
in the
marrow.
inside of
Yeah.
bones. Yep.
Yeah.
And you see people feeding like marrow bones from cows and stuff like that. But if you can get you a smaller animal like a deer. I think deer to me, beyond poultry, is the better bone. Those smaller goat bones. You don't want to get like a cow or something like that. Some hogs, depending on the size of them, they might be a little too tough, but
Mhm,
that marrow inside the bones and then the calcium in the bones themselves,
mhm. Yeah,
super important.
yeah, you're right. You're 100% right about that. Um, in your journey on the raw food world, what what's the difference has it gave you that you can clearly explain versus other dogs that might be on kibble or whatnot? Is there anything you could see?
Oh yeah, 100%, man. So first and foremost, I've heard a few people talk about it on the show, but the poop,
Yeah.
it reduces in size because the dog's body is absorbing so many nutrients. It's not that much waste, and it doesn't stink. Like it smells like earth. It smells like dirt to me.
Mhm.
And then in about 3 days, it's gone. Like I
Mm,
haven't picked up poop in almost a decade, and that's beautiful. Like people, it's like, oh man, like it turns white and then it breaks down and it's
yeah,
gone. No
yeah.
smell. Um, and then we talk like the weight. It's easy for a dog to get obese, especially if you're the one feeding it. Like, oh no, they're just a little. They're always hungry. They want to eat that kibble, and they consume so much because they're trying to get full. That's why they drink a lot of water behind it too. Um,
Yeah. When they on the raw diet, they don't drink much water at
no, and
all.
that's because the majority of meat is 70% water. You know what I'm saying? So they're getting that water, and that was the biggest shock to me because I'm used to my dog drinking a whole bowl of water in one day, whereas now if I didn't change the water daily, he probably could run off the same bowl. Like, I'm talking 40 ounces of water for a week.
Yeah. That's the first thing I noticed. I was like, damn, it'd be summertime.
Yeah.
You're not even drinking that water like that.
Yep.
It's
It's
like, wow.
scary. It's scary,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then also the allergies. American bulldogs are notorious for having allergies, be it skin allergies and all these other things. My dog, I haven't had any issues with him medically at all, and he's been raw fed. He'll be 12 in March. He's been raw fed since he was 3.
Mm,
And I remember when I moved to Georgia from Virginia, we took him to the vet for his annual, and they were looking at his teeth. Oh my God, his teeth are so white. He doesn't have any buildup, and oh, he looks so good. Looking at his gum line, everything is good. His weight. And they was like, "Oh man, you're doing a good job." And it was like, "Okay, so what do you feed him?" I said, "He's on a raw diet." And the vet was like, "Oh, that's not healthy for him." I said, "You contradicted everything that you just said. You just
yeah.
told me my dog had a clean bill of health. There's no issues with his joints and the way he runs, and I no issues at all. But you're telling me that raw diet isn't healthy for him, and it's no fault, man. My wife, she told me I need to calm down because I like to troll vets, and
Yeah.
especially being in the military, I PCS a lot, so we're moving, meeting, and I ask them straight up, like, all right, what did you learn about the diet of animals? They don't. My sister-in-law is actually in vet school right now in Colorado, and they're learning about the diets of animals was sponsored by a big vet brand. I'm sorry, a big dog food brand who
Mm,
came in and said, "Hey, yep, this is our brand, and if you have a dog that has this issue, we have this food. If they have this issue, they have that food." And it's like, what did you
mm,
learn?
yeah.
Nothing really. You have some vets that took the time and learned about uh the benefits of a raw diet. The vet that we take our dogs to here in it's a small town outside of San Antonio. They're pro raw diet, and they have quite a few customers who feed their dogs a raw diet. And it's like we can tell a raw fed dog over a kibble fed dog because of the health issues.
Mhm, yeah.
It's like, man,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some it can get like big pharma
oh
when they
yeah,
when people try to make money. You know, what I'm
oh
saying
yeah,
off everything. You
yep,
know,
yep.
so yeah. You talked about the food allergies. What about the digestion of the raw diet and absorption of nutrients and how it affects the skin? and coat.
And so we go back to they absorb pretty much all of, I don't say all of it because they still pooping, but they absorb a lot of what they need from these animals. And when it comes to the skin and coat, it's a noticeable difference. You have your breeds that shed a lot, that's climate control, things like that. But you can definitely, my American Bulldog, I use him as an example. He used to scratch a lot when he was on kibble, and he would have like that stinky smell, like a dog must. Once we switched him to raw, and he had been on it for maybe about 5 or 6 months, a lot of that decreased. He still would get his hot spots and certain times, stuff like that, like a normal person would, but I like to think that it was controlled by his diet.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Hey, everybody, let's get the likes up. Everybody,
Yeah,
get the
man.
likes up. Share the video. Share the video.
Absolutely.
It's a community thing. You help us
Tell a
out.
friend to tell a friend.
That's right. Pass it on because he dropping some jewels today. Um, let's we talked a little bit about the food aggression already and
Mhm.
pack feeding. Do you you might have answered this, but you don't feed them all together, right?
So my two female Frenchies, I do feed them together.
Okay, gotcha.
And they so for them I grinded up. I had a scare. I was feeding them whole portions, and my oldest Frenchie, she tried to swallow a chicken wing, and I had to go scoop it out her throat, and get it out of there. So from that point, I started grinding her food, and but I feed them probably about 3 feet away from each other, and no issues at all,
Gotcha.
none. I think once they're pack animals, right?
Yeah.
And they understand that I'm the alpha.
Right. Right. The feeding considerations. Um, it does anything change if you have a pregnant female?
Yeah, that's a lot there. A lot changes. They need a higher calcium. And it's like the reason why we put pregnant females on puppy food is because it's higher in protein and higher in some other things that dog food claims they have. But for a female, you want to increase her bone intake. You also want to you want liver, and then you want a primary organ to be spleen. Because the spleen give me a second.
I got a question about that calcium too. Is it possible to have too much calcium before she gives birth? I think I read somewhere about like it makes it harder for them to deliver, but after the babies are here,
For the milk
calcium.
production.
Yeah.
And so when you increase, so right now you want 10% bone, right?
Okay, gotcha.
I'm talking about increasing it to like 12 or 13%.
Right.
Not a bone heavy diet, but you want to increase it to about 12 or 13%.
Gotcha.
And then when you start selecting your muscle meat, you want high in protein muscle meat.
Right.
So if you're giving, go ahead.
Let me ask you this. So and you go probably increase the food. At what time will you increase the diet, and at what time within the pregnancy would you increase it?
Second trimester. Second
There you go.
trimester is when you wanna start to increase the diet. When you want to add more bone, you want to start relying heavily on that not heavily, but you want to start incorporating that spleen into the diet. And give me a second, I'm gonna tell you why the spleen is important.
Okay. Let's get the likes up, guys. Get the likes up. Share. Salute Murdoch. Salute Doug. Salute Schoolboy. Salute everybody in the chat.
Hey, Schoolboy, man, that dude is so knowledgeable, man. Every time I see he's on the show, man, it's like I gotta tap in and just listen to what
Man.
he's saying.
You ain't the only one who thinks that. They like I first time I had Schoolboy on, I did his interview. Then we just did a show right behind it. And you don't believe how many messages said, well, whatever you do, just make Schoolboy a regular guest. That's why
Yeah,
y'all see him so much.
yeah,
Because people want to see him.
and if anybody got a problem with that, man, they probably should find somewhere else to get
That's true.
information from, because that's
Yeah.
a wealth of knowledge, man,
Mhm.
and boots on the ground experience, not somebody that sat and read a book. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like I was in there. I hear him talk all the time. That one story he told about when he went and killed the hog. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, I wasn't a
Yeah.
hunter. I was just there, but I was
Yeah,
like, all
yeah,
right, bet I'm gonna go do it. I'm like,
yeah.
see, that's what I'm talking about. That's the type of people you want to learn from.
Yeah.
But the spleen, the females need the iron from the spleen, and spleen is an organ that has a higher iron level for
Mhm.
per ounce, and that's why you want to rely on that liver and iron to cover your secreting organ percentage.
Right. What is your thoughts on carbohydrates?
So for the female, they definitely need the carbs for the energy. And
Mhm.
so one thing you can do is sweet potatoes. And what
Mm,
anytime you use a starch, you want to cook it first so that their body can digest it and pull the nutrients they need from it.
gotcha.
So sweet potato is what my go-to for the carbs. Cottage cheese is another good one that the dogs like, but sweet potato is what I relied on to for that energy base,
Gotcha.
and it's good fiber too. If you're not given fur or feathers or something like that, it's a good source of fiber.
Okay, good. So that the PMR diet, the prey
Hmm.
model.
Yep.
So you do incorporate a little bit of fur the dog will get,
Yep.
and the feathers is considered fiber, huh?
Correct.
Oh,
And
okay.
that's just good with just cleaning out the tubes. You know what I'm saying? Helping
Oh,
everything push through. And
okay.
you can do that. One thing, like if anybody, I tell anybody when they're first starting off the raw diet, right? The best way in my opinion, is to start with chicken, and you want to go bone heavy because you're getting ready to shock the dog's stomach. And I say bone heavy when if you notice that your dog has loose stool, incorporate more bone to solidify it.
Gotcha.
And then you'll find out what that happy medium is, because maybe your dog needs 13% calcium, or maybe it's if it's having trouble using the bathroom, and you can look at the color and tell, like, hey, you know what, I need to decrease the bone. Like when my Frenchie was pregnant, she was I had her like up at like 14 or 15% bone,
Mhm.
and then her stool started getting real light coming out, and it was locking her up a little bit. So I was like, okay, let me dial it back a little bit and see. And I found that happy medium, which was around 13%, which doesn't seem like a lot, but for them it was.
Right. Yeah, Doug is saying chalk balls. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly,
Exactly.
exactly.
Yeah. Um, let's look into the practical aspects of raw feeding. You covered a little bit on some oils, but let's go a little bit deeper. Different oils and their benefits. What's your thoughts on this?
So I try to stir away from incorporating anything that's not inside an animal. I'm a fan of the prey model raw. And so, like I said, I incorporated the fish because I wanted to get away from the omega-3 oils. Um, Cartilage, making sure that you're feeding joints, because that cartilage is good for their cartilage, and that'll take away the need for you to incorporate something for like collagen or something like that. Uh, the eyeballs, they say that, like you feed your dog eyeballs, they're going to have good eyeballs. I've even and read, now again, I take everything with a grain of salt, right? It's not, you won't find much material. You can find it better now than you could 10 years ago when I first started, but people who are really doing these trial and errors, and it's no scientific data behind what's saying. It's just people are like, hey, you know what? I started feeding my dog bull testicles, and he's potent. You know what I mean? It's my number one stud in my breeding program.
Yeah.
And it's like, I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He getting that testosterone.
Yeah.
But I personally try to stay away from incorporating anything outside of an animal. And like I said, I'm using whole fish for omega 3, and that's a big one for the skin and the coat, and then collagen for the soft tissue in between the joints and stuff like that. Like my American Bulldog, he'll be 12 years old in March, and I can see it because I see him every day. He gets up a little slow, but if you come knock on my door, you wouldn't know that he was 12 years old. If he was in the backyard and you were walking past my fence, you wouldn't know that he was 12 years old. I actually saw him. I have an 8-foot fence, and a squirrel was running across the top, and he saw it and beeline. And if this squirrel hadn't made a left to go on another fence, he jumped up and chomped right at where the squirrel was. And I was like, shit, he about to catch a squirrel. And I was excited to see it, but it had that sixth sense and got out of there. But I say that to say, like, if you take your time and make sure you're incorporating the right parts, you won't have to subsidize anything.
Right. 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 Let me ask you this one here. Doug says bull testicle is an ancient testosterone booster.
Yeah, you're getting it right there. You're getting it right there. Like it's very common. I see often on this website I go to buy some of the organs. They have goat testicles all the time. My buddy who I got the chickens from, he has a couple of male goats, some bucks that he's probably going to put down. I say put down, but they're probably going to cull so they can eat them this holiday. And I was like, you make sure, like, you let me know because I want all of that. And I want all of it.
Right. How important it is to have the diversity of the meat types on your journey in raw feeding.
I think it's important because you don't want the dog to get to a point where they're tired of it. I try to throw in any type of new meat. I got some bison from somebody who had some in their freezer from a hunt they went on, and it was starting to go bad. It was getting freezer burnt. I was like, I'll take it off your hands. I just try to just keep it switching up, give them a new taste. But I think just like us, man, you don't want to eat the same thing over and over and over again.
Right, right. Let's go into some fruits, vegetables, and natural medicines. What can you tell us about that, Rick?
So with the fruits and vegetables, we talked a little bit about the carbs. Any carbs you want to give, you want to make sure that you steam them. Steaming is probably the cleanest way to cook them so that you're not incorporating any additives, right? But you want to make sure that you steam them so that they can consume them, get it in their bodies faster. A lot of people go to rice whenever the dog is sick to try to just be a filler and absorb. Green vegetables, you want to just give it to them in their raw form. Just wash it off and just give it to them. Same thing with carrots and stuff like that. I would say one thing you want to make sure that in any of these, feeding any of these items, you want to make sure they're appropriate to the size of the dog's head. You don't want to be a choking hazard. Like I said, my Frenchie choked on a chicken wing, a drumette of a chicken wing. And had I not been there, I would have lost her. But you want to make sure that if you're going to give like a carrot or something like that, give it as something that they can swallow easily or big enough that they have to chew.
Gotcha.
And then a lot of people use blueberries and stuff like that as antioxidants. Yogurt also for probiotic and stuff like that. But
could you think of any foods that people say, well, it's toxic to dogs that probably isn't? I hear garlic really isn't toxic.
So I'll tell you that, man.
Amount.
I think it depends on the amount, man. Me being naive, I thought about garlic and the effect that it has on insects, biting insects. You know what I'm saying? Ticks and fleas. So I gave my American Bulldog, I would give him like a piece of garlic, not a whole garlic, but one of the small pieces, and he'll smash it. Never had any issues. Yeah. Another one that comes to mind is people talk about chocolate. Dark chocolate is toxic to dogs.
Dark chocolate.
Milk chocolate. If I'm not telling you to go give them a Hershey's,
Yeah.
But if they consume like a piece of something, like a piece of milk chocolate, they'll be all right. Might have the runs a little bit, but it's not in my opinion, a need to go to the vet. But if they get some dark chocolate, you're in a whole nother world. Um, Pits, apple pits. I've heard that is not good for dogs. Um, Avocado pits as well
Hmm.
aren't good for dogs, but that's all I can think about. And to be honest, I don't really dabble into that world because that's not something that I feed.
Right, right. So one of the big questions is um, how to save. What are tips on how to save money doing this? Because groceries is high as hell right now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Very much.
So that's another reason why I like pork. Pork per pound is cheap. It's probably the cheapest of the all of the meats. But get it's co-ops. It's a co-op here in San Antonio where it's raw people who feed raw, and we buy directly from a restaurant distributor. And if you haven't seen anything like I'm talking about, you can buy 80 pounds of chicken breast for about no, I'm sorry, 40 pounds of chicken breast for about $80. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Um,
What you said? How many pounds?
40 pounds of chicken breast for about $80. That's average. I've gotten
Yeah.
it, in the 60s. It depends on if it's fresh or frozen and if what they
Yeah.
did to it. Like the best ones that I've seen are the ones that they just cut it off the chicken. The breasts aren't split or anything. It's all one big butterfly. And those are going to be cheap because they didn't put any time into getting it. But you want to look out for those groups. Talk to your hunters, man.
Hmm.
Your hunters, get with your hunters because they discard a lot of the stuff that you actually will have a hard time to find. Asian food marts, they have a lot of the organ meat as well as, and they sell whole fish.
Mm.
Um, I actually have a membership into a spot called Restaurant Depot,
Hmm.
and I save a ton of money, man. Like you look at, I probably for a month worth of meat for all three of my dogs, it'll probably cost me about $140.
No, it's not
And
bad.
yeah, it's not bad at all. And so what I do is I have a refrigerator and a stand-up freezer dedicated to the dogs. And so I stock up. If I see something on sale, I'll buy enough and I'll buy a nice amount and just put it in there, let it freeze. I have a separate deep freezer that I'll put like something I got from a hunter that I need to freeze for a long period of time. I can just put it in there, forget about it for a while. But buying in bulk to me is the better way. You can go to a grocery store and get a 10-pound bag of chicken quarters for about $5, right? So you're looking at maybe $20 for about 40 pounds.
Hmm.
And so you can go that route because that'll give you your muscle meat and bone. And then you can get like some pork. Try to find somewhere you can get like a pork shoulder, and then you just cut it up to balance that out. Because, I mean, realistically, man, the average person's dog isn't eating no more than probably about 3 pounds a day.
That's right. Yeah.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
yeah, and a lot depends on your location,
Yep.
too, because like I live around a lot of chicken plants.
Oh
We got
yeah.
a lot of deer hunters, so I can go in and get 40 pounds of chicken for $20,
Yeah,
frozen
that's
in a
that's
box.
easy. Yep.
Yeah. So, but I want to show while we on that topic.
Hmm.
People going to ask me a bunch of questions. Well, Joe, where should I go? I want to just point out a area, some stuff, a group in my area
Okay.
where y'all can get this stuff, and then we'll end on meal prepping because this is probably going to be a segue into it. This
Yep.
stuff is already going to be kind of well prepared for the most part. Hold on one
Right.
second.
No problem.
So this is the Tulsa Raw Food Group, and what they normally do is you have to pre-order the food, and then they'll meet at a location like we got Tractor Supply, some kind of whatever store, and you can order as much as you want. And y'all screenshot this as I'm going through. If you're in Arkansas, Oklahoma, kind of in the southern area, somebody can go up once a month and pick up everybody food for them. Chicken backs, they got tri blends with salmon and different things. So y'all screenshot this. If you're in the Arkansas, Tulsa area, or it's around, I know even people in Missouri, they just drive over to Siloam or wherever they meeting and go to pick up all this food. Another place I used back in the day before I started doing it on my own was the Texas Tripe. Texas, you ever
Mhm.
heard of them?
Yeah. It's like
Yeah,
the pre-made, right? They send it.
it's the
They sell it in
pre-made stuff.
logs.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So I know time is of the essence. So
Hmm.
so let's get into that, my brother.
Yeah.
Uh, let's talk about meal prep.
So, meal prep, right? One thing that I think people need to understand: dogs need to chew. They need to chew their food, right? Um, so when we start talking about our portions and how we give it to him, my American Bulldog gets his food frozen, and it probably thaws for about 3 hours, and then he'll eat it. He eats one time a day, and it's important for him to chew that food because that not only is that good for their teeth, but it satisfies that urge to chew on things. I noticed once I moved over and started doing that, he stopped chewing on stuff in the house. He rarely chews on dog toys.
Hmm.
So when we start talking about prepping, you want to make sure that you have portions that are, if you want to feed it completely thawed out, you want to make sure that they're big enough that the dog has to chew it before they swallow it. Um, for
Good
me,
point.
man, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I said good point.
Yeah. Um, for me, I'll take whatever I'm using for this particular meal. I prep for 30 days at a time for all my dogs.
Hmm.
And for my American Bulldog, I'll take. I got like a table. I should have sent you some pictures so you could have thrown them up. But I got like a stainless steel table. I got meat trays. I have cutting boards, different type of knives to debone and stuff like that. If I'm going to take it off of a bone, usually it's like when I'm using like pork, and it has bones in it. But I cut them. I cut in portions that are big enough for him to chew. Especially when they all come together, because it's going to be like a block for him so that he can chew it up, and I'll weigh it. So I'll start with I'll do a simple meal like what I would consider someone, if I'm introducing somebody to a raw diet, it's going to be a starter meal. I'm going to do is a chicken leg quarter, and then I'm gonna put that in a bag, and then I'm gonna get a piece of pork, and I'm gonna cut it, and then I'll start off with a big piece, and I'll put it in there, and I have a scale, and I'll weigh it and see where I need to be. Like if I need to feed 2 pounds, I want that chicken leg quarter and that piece of pork to be about 1.5 pounds, right?
Hmm.
And then from there, I'm going to add the organ meat. I'm gonna start with my liver. I'll do liver first and get that whatever that weight needs to be,
Hmm.
and then I'll add the other secreting organs. I'll do like I got pork brains right now. I have bull eyeballs, and then I have some beef kidney. So I'll put the brains. It's pretty much ground up. So I'm putting that in there, and I'll get it to where it's close to 2 pounds, and then I'll add in the beef kidney and then the eyeball to top it off to where I need it to be. Um, it's a labor of love, man.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, man, like my wife helped me. My youngest daughter, she was in that first picture I sent you. She's big, and she always wants to help.
Mhm.
And we get out there, and I pre-roll the bags. I bought some bags. If anybody's interested in doing this, man, I say get on Uline, and they have bags that are open on one side. 3 milliliters is about the thickness of a freezer bag,
Hmm.
and I have like a little press that seals the end of it, not a suction, not a like a that removes the air, but just
Right.
seals the end of it. I'm actually going to buy one of those ones that removes
You
the
talking about like
air.
a vacuum seal? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a vacuum seal, but the one I have now it just closes the end. It just heats it enough to close the end. But I roll the bag so it's easier to put the food in there and have how many, like my 30 days worth or whatever. And then I just go through and okay, all my leg portions, all the pork right here. And then I take each bag. Okay, yep, this puts me to that weight. This puts me to that weight, and then seal it, and then put it in the freezer. to me, that's the best way to do it. I know the other person that you had out here on here that does the raw, I think his name's Kevin. He was saying that he just feeds off like portions at a time. I don't disagree with that. I like a more controlled thing, right? Because again, I'm trying to manage it. I'm trying to manage the dog's weight and their consumption. And then also when you start to do your meal prep, you need to know your dog's activity level. Like my American Bulldog, when he was younger and we were living on 5 acres, he was outside running around a lot. So he burned his calories fast. He needed a higher energy. So he got closer to 3 pounds, a little over 3 pounds a day. But as he got older and slowed down, I reduced what he ate. And it's important that you understand your dog's activity level and what they're going to be doing, because that'll help you better prep. And then for my Frenchies, I told you I grind their food now. So I had my trials and errors with that. I bought a grinder from Bass Pro and it couldn't cut it. I bought a commercial grinder now, and man, that thing, it's the truth. 1 horsepower, man. I was grinding some turkey necks last weekend, and it was just chewing them up, man. Like it was, my old grinder would have stopped 3 times, and it was just going like a diesel engine, just driving it. It was crazy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That grinder is something else. I had
Yeah,
to. I got a buddy of mine to grind up the stuff I use for me.
yeah,
Man, bro, it's been a real one, man. I think people got a real. I know I did. I got a really good visualization and direction
yeah.
on how to do this thing now.
I'm
Uh,
glad, man. I'm
yeah,
glad, man, and I hope people took something from this, because when I first started out, man, it was wild.
yeah,
It was me just trying to figure it out on my own, and looking back at how I started and where I am now, man, I laugh at myself
yeah,
on what I
yeah.
was doing.
The journeys of a student, huh?
Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
I got a question for you, huh?
Yeah.
Hold on, Marcus Huglet. How you doing, sir? Is goat milk good for
Marcus,
your
what's up,
dog
brother?
if it comes
So,
straight from the goat?
um, I think yes. I don't see anything wrong with it. Um, my counter question would be, what are you looking to get out of the goat milk? What is the purpose? I see that often where people mix goat milk with kibble, or what our puppies, when we were weaning them, we started using goat milk to mix with the food so that they would get the, I think kefir is what they call it, from the goat. But
Mhm.
um I don't think it would be wrong. Goat milk is probably some of the best milk, that you can get, even better than cow. Some people say it's better than cow's milk. I'm not a I don't give my dogs any goat milk or anything like that, but I think if you wanted to incorporate goat milk, that would be the safest.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not as fatty.
right. Doug says goat milk was used before stores started selling puppy replacement milk.
Yep.
Okay. Let me see what else we got here.
Essentially.
Somebody said watching all the way from Cape Town, South Africa.
Yeah, I
Love
hear
the
that,
content.
man.
What's up, Leroy? All right. Well, I think that's it, brother. Like I say, I appreciate you coming and giving a good breakdown.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, if you got any resources, I don't know if you want to drop your number on the internet, if somebody want to call you or reach out to you. If so, how could we get them to contact you without blowing your phone up?
So hey, yeah, no problem, man. Gold standard kennels 23 at gmail.com. That's an email for my Frenchies we're breeding at. But you guys can shoot me a message on there. We also have an Instagram. It's let me pull it up, man.
Okay. Matter of
It's
fact,
a gold underscore standard underscore kennels. Follow us on there, shoot me a message on there, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
okay.
I'm passionate about this, man. I'm not against kibble. I don't look down my nose at anybody, but I feel like if we are, as a society, people, we're moving to start eating healthier, why aren't we drifting our animals that way either?
Well, yeah, and it looks like there's gonna be a lot of lot of push for eating healthier across human beings too. Since that Kennedy boy is in, he's gonna put some pressure on some of these food companies to do right by the people because they sure been effing us around, bro.
Yeah, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy, man. It's crazy. That's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
Already got somebody following. That's what's up,
Oh
man. I
yeah,
got you,
yeah,
Doug,
yeah,
my man. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, man, like reach out to me, man, and I'm always in the show on the comments, man.
Hmm. Been around for a
Yeah,
long time. We were talking about how I started on the couch.
yeah, man, yeah,
Not
man.
too
Like I
long
said,
ago. Yeah.
I love to see it, man. I love to see us moving
Yes, sir.
forward, man, as a
Yes, sir.
community.
Yep, yep. Let's keep doing it. Let's keep working together. And it ain't got to be big names. It just got to be a big community that's striving for the truth and getting better. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
So that's what it's
yep.
about.
And
All
I
right.
want to, man, you got some puppies on the ground, bro. You ain't
Oh
even
yeah.
you ain't been pushing. I was like, I seen
Yeah.
you on I think it was on your YouTube. I was like, okay, Joe got some pups, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get me a Connie Corso
Yeah.
probably next year, man. We're gonna talk.
Yeah. That'll work. I
We're
got you,
gonna
brother.
talk.
Okay. All
All
right.
right, man.
Well, y'all, I see y'all tonight. I hadn't told anybody yet, but we got John Mims, the dog
Oh yeah.
trainer out of Louisiana, and P Dunn Mega on the same stage.
Oh, that's gonna be
Yeah,
dope.
yeah. So it's gonna be crazy. So all right, y'all stay safe.
All right, take care, man. Appreciate you.
All right. See you.
Yep, later.